Bienvenido, damas y caballeros. Welcome back to Freeform Radio on the Freeform Network. Remember to send in those questions and suggestions, ffnquestions@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. But for Freeform Radio, I am one of your hosts. My name is Daniel. My other host today is Andy.
What's up, guys? It's all good, Andy. We're back at it.
It's all good. Do you know? Have you seen Better Call Saul? That's how he came up with his name. Have you seen that?
I remember I watched the first couple seasons, but I haven't watched the last two seasons.
Okay, yeah. I think it's the last season. He actually explains how he got Better Call, how he came up with the name Saul Goodman, and it has something to do with what you just said. But I don't want to spoil.
Cicero Eddie.
Yeah, Cicero Eddie. But let's jump into the show, Andy. Let's jump into our weeks and what we've been up to. You, man, I've been hearing there's I see here a war zone on the 4th of July, or is it a war zone in the bathroom? What's going on, man? What's going on at the Aguirre household?
So at the time of this recording, it's the weekend after the 4th, so I want to wish America a good birthday. We just had after, all the bullshit that we're going through with COVID and the protesting. So, across America and wherever you're listening, 4th of July is our Independence Day. And I would say about 90%, 95% of the country, we have fireworks shows at your local communities, the big cities. And I would say about 95% of them all got canceled this year because of the Chinese virus. So, we did every year. I mean, I know you do too, Dan. Where we grew up, there was a fireworks show the weekend before or whatever.
Damn right.
I moved farther away, and they have a fireworks show here. I went to it last year, and this year it got canceled.
Damn, they have fireworks shows in Iowa?
No, man, we're not that far in Iowa. But so yeah, they had the fireworks show. They even had a live band. And you believe it? Last year, that's how they get down over here in the boonies.
Los Tigres del Norte?
No, they at this current climate, they're not welcomed.
Oh, damn.
So, but yeah, we had a good R&B, multi-diverse band up there.
Oh, nice.
They were singing nice oldies and stuff, so it wasn't too bad last year. Anyways, getting back to it. So people here were like, yeah, man, like, fuck that. This is America, man. We're going to fucking blow up shit. And holy shit, man, it was a freaking war zone. I was in front of my house as soon as it got dusk. I was in front of my house enjoying my White Claw. And
what's that?
It's hard seltzer with alcohol in it.
Nice.
It's my new thing. And then when I don't have that, I usually drink some bourbon, as discussed in last week's episode. And I did get asked questions about it. So thank you, fan.
So is this White Claw, is that a mixed drink, or is that something that's pre-made and you buy it?
It's pre-made. You can buy it. So, like Bud Seltzer and Corona Seltzer.
Okay.
That's White Claw's kind of the ones that started all that.
I thought you bought the things individually and mixed them together. No. Okay. All right, cool.
Oh. See, Danny, you hear that? Danny's not much of a drinker no more as he gets older.
Yeah, man. It was just recently, I think it was that day that you were talking about the bourbon, that it was the first day that I went down and made a mixed drink. But I had not drank since probably like the second week of March. So I had gone a good while without having 1 ounce of alcohol. But yeah.
Again, so it was 4th of July weekend. I got off of work. Let me sidetrack here. And I was just like, I'm done with my bourbon. I killed my last bottle. I usually drink it on the weekends. And I'm like, oh man, like I want to try a new bottle of bourbon. I've tried Jim Beam, Elijah Craig, and I was just like, man, I need to get some new bourbon. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna make the trek to Binny's. And I fucking went. It's on the way to my house. I go in there, I pull in. It's like a back entrance. And then the Benny's is on your left-hand side. And as soon as I clear that turn, fucking then there was literally about 20 people deep in line waiting to get into the fucking Benny's.
Wow.
I was like, this is fucking insane. Like, Why can't? Why is there so many people at Benny's? I was just like, I got fucking pissed and I drove away. I'm like, I'm gonna just go to my local fucking liquor store and just buy. It's gonna be a little like $5 more, but fuck it, I'm supporting a local business. And for I don't know if Benny's is national, but here, I guess in the Midwest or maybe in Illinois, they're pretty big.
Right.
So, but yeah, I was just like, I want to see what kind of exotic bourbons they had, but fuck that. I saw that line, I'm like, I ain't going. And I went and
Yeah,
bought a bottle.
they have a bunch of. You've been into Benny's before, right?
Yeah, I've been there before.
Yeah. They have a bunch of wide selection, shit that you would never even think about. They have it there.
Well, that's why I wanted to buy it. I wanted to enjoy it with the celebration of America. I want to have this exotic liqueur bourbon. The brownest of the brown liquors.
Damn, sophisticated.
Man, I learned that from The Simpsons. But yeah, so I was just like, fuck yeah. And then that happened. So I had to go to Jewel, like some animal, to buy a quick bottle until I had to go hit my local liquor store. But going back, yeah, so it was like a freaking, it was a fucking war zone, dude. It was like, I've never seen so many fireworks blown up ever. And then we grew up in the hood. Like, we would blow shit up, but damn, this took the cake, man. They were getting down out here. Literally go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think it's usually that bad? Because I know typically for the 4th of July, you go to like carnivals or like neighboring cities, firework presentations. Do you think it's always that bad in your neighborhood with 4th of July fireworks? Or is it just because you were there that you really noticed it? Or
no, it was to another level. I'm not gonna lie. To me personally, like I grew up in the hood, man. 4th of July you blow up shit, people throwing fireworks. There's like the local guy trying to put on his little fireworks show. Like this took it to another fucking level. And I was just like, damn. My compadre came and I don't know where he got his fireworks. He was fucking blowing. He had like fucking 2 M80, like whatever is above
bombs and the worm thing.
No, they weren't. There wasn't. This motherfucker was blowing up stuff in the middle of the street, and it was the loudest. I was like, holy shit. Whatever above 1 M80s are, I don't even know. This guy had mi compadre had that, and he had whatever's above, twice above the M80. And when he blew up that thing, I was like, holy shit! Like, you could lose a leg with that one.
Wow, yeah, I was surprised, to be honest. Coming up to the 4th of July, Alana was asking me, he's like, yeah, how bad do you think fireworks are going to be this year? Because we were kind of worried about our dog. Well, at least she was worried. I was just like, it is going to be what it's going to be. We'll just give her one of those like safe vests or one of those things where I don't know if you've ever seen those, the vests that you put on dogs.
My sister has one for the dog, the relaxer thing.
Right, something like that. But I was telling her, I'm like, with all this Black Lives Matter stuff going on, with all these issues going on with COVID, people kind of being negative on America, I'm like, I think this 4th of July is going to be kind of lax, just because there's not going to be a ton of patriotism for people out there wanting to celebrate America. But I was wrong, man. Like you said, here it seemed like worse than other years. There was fireworks everywhere. You heard it all throughout the night. You heard it days coming up to the 4th of July. And I went to bed like around, I don't know, it was like 11 o'clock, and they were still blowing off fireworks. It was still really loud everywhere. It sounded like it was in our backyard. And when I got up in the morning, there was actually a few like rockets that landed in my yard, and a few little remnants of whatever blew up in the sky and kind of fell into my yard. So it was nuts here as well.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was a couple blocks down, like two streets down. This guy was blowing up like professional, like fireworks. I don't know where he got them, but like this is stuff that you would see like at a fireworks show, or when you go to like the baseball games, and they would, they have the usual generic fireworks show, like to the same music, all of them.
Right.
And I was like, dang, he was blowing that shit up. I'm like, did this guy just go? Did he go somewhere? Does he, like, who did he know? Or maybe the firework people that do the shows, or like, man, we gotta unload some of this stuff because business is slow. But yeah, it was like, dude, it was insane. I don't know if you're in that group text, Danny, where I sent to the guys where
I
it was
saw
at
Hulk Hogan
newsfeed.
playing his guitar,
No, man,
shooting
it was
fireworks in the
after that.
background.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. Where there was the newscast like illegal fireworks in California, and then they have like a helicopter guy, and he's just flying over the city, and there's just fireworks being exploded nonstop, like all across the city. And they kept saying illegal fireworks, and I'm just like, America said, "Fuck you, we're gonna blow this shit up." And I think I saw something similar like that for Chicago too, and I think people are just kind of COVID fatigue, and they're just like, we're gonna blow shit up.
Yeah, no, I thought the opposite, man. I thought with everything going on that it would be more chill and be like, you know what?
No, man.
We hate America. Down with America. We're not going to celebrate a kind of thing. But nah, man, it didn't seem that way.
No, it's good to see, man. I mean, they might not be stuff going on, but people are in America, man. People are gonna do shit that they want to do, bad or good. So don't. I'm not saying it's bad. There was no large crowds. It's just people. What people did is like, okay, we can't go there. Just come to my house or go to that person's house, and that's what they did. So
you think fireworks were healing the country in some way?
maybe, man, that's what we needed. As much as they were on the news and shit, they were shitting in America. People said, we just need to blow shit up. It's in our DNA and as Americans just to blow shit up. That soothes our soul, I think.
Nice. All right, cool.
So I'm like, whatever you guys sent us photos or questions, or how'd your 4th of July celebrations go? Because I think across the board in general, a lot of people are just blowing up shit. Send them to ffnquestions@gmail.com. Let us know what you guys experienced, if any, or if you were the ones blowing up the professional shit that you got illegally. You were the one cool guy in the neighborhood. So let us know what you guys have been through. The other thing, speaking of blowing shit up, I'm going to blow up my half bathroom. Ever since I moved out here 3 years ago, one of my projects, and my wife's been beating me up about, is remodeling that half bathroom. And I'm finally going to get around to do it. And I found a guy to do it for me for a great price.
All right. A 6-pack of beer and a pack of cigarettes?
Just about, man, because to go buy the crap was expensive as fuck. It was, I was telling my wife, just get whatever you want. Just don't go off of price in general. Get something nice or something you really want, because I don't want to deal with this in like 5 years where you want to change everything up. Just get it done. So the only thing I picked out was the nice shitter.
All right. So what's the extent of everything that you're replacing? You're putting it in a new shitter, and what else?
A new vanity, flooring. We're putting in new tile.
Oh, nice.
New tram, some shoe, a new electrical lighting, and I put in a new fan to suck out all the shit all the shit smells. Nickel brush plated and register. So
register? What's that?
Register's the vent on the floor.
Ah, okay, cool. And there's no shower in your
half a bathroom. No.
Okay, cool. All right.
And so yeah, it's gonna get done this weekend. I'm hoping. Like always, you go buy shit, and then they're like, they gotta order it, and I'm like, the thing says it's in stock over there. Like, we don't got it. So, like, I'm doing the project next weekend. I'm like, are you gonna have this done? Oh yeah, it should be here Thursday. So tomorrow I'm gonna find out if they have this shit or not.
Right. Now that you're gonna get some work done in your house, and you said you're getting some guy to do it, how's that working with COVID? Is there any kind of precaution? Is there anything you're worried about?
Not really. I'm not worried about it too much. As long as I don't fucking hug the guy or something, I think I'll be all right.
Oh, sweet. And was there any concerns by him? I was kind of thinking about that too, and I'm like, man, if something were to happen in the house and I would need to get somebody to come in and do some work, I wonder how it would work with all this COVID stuff. Would it be something where they would not be wearing masks and kind of, tripping out my wife, where she's just like, why aren't they wearing masks and whatnot?
I think maybe 2 months ago it would have been a big concern, but now I think I'm not with reading with what I read and all that. I'm not. as
As
worried.
concerned.
I'm more concerned, like when we go to the store, if the person like accidentally touches me, that's where I get like, oh shit, like fucking hit me with the fucking hand sanitizer. Like that's where I get paranoid
Right.
because I really try not to touch my face and I wash my hands like a shitload of times and I use a lot of hand sanitizer. That's
Yeah.
about it. That's my big thing, and not touching my face. Wear the mask. I'm not cool. I'm not crazy about it, but I'll wear it and just don't touch like the touching another human being that's not my wife. It's just where I get like that's where I fucking get like anxious, like oh shit, like fucking person touched me, like let me get my fucking hand sanitizer. Like I'll do
Yeah.
it right in front of them. I don't give a fuck.
I I thought it was weird. I went to a work meeting and I was sitting in the conference table, and I noticed one of the people that were in the meeting with us had like a new watch, like this digital watch or something. So I started asking some questions, and the guy took off the watch and like pushed it over by me, like for me to actually like pick up and look at. And I almost went to grab it, but then I started thinking, I'm like, "God, do I really want to touch this watch? I mean, this guy has been touching it. It's on his wrist." And I decided not to. And he kept like, giving me that look like, yeah, grab it. It's right there. He didn't actually come out and say it, but I just looked at it and I just kind of, like twisted my head around it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. It looks cool, man. Looks nice. Looks comfortable, man. It looks like the material is pretty nice. And, I didn't once touch it, but I had that same thought, like, I don't want to touch this thing because I don't want to have to hand sanitize my hand after, I pick it up or whatever.
I mean, that's my biggest concern. And like, I mean, you read stuff about how like when you're outside in the sun, like it's been hot here. It's been in the 90s this past week.
Damn right.
How the sun kills the virus within like 30 seconds as soon as it hits the air. Like that, like I get it. And like you read in more and more that the biggest way people get infected is by touching each other. That's the big way. Human to human contact. Everything else, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not a big percentage. It's like a very, very, very low percentage. It's everything's human. That's where I get like, all right, yeah, don't fuck. If someone touches me, and that's where I'm just like, okay, like that's where I'm like, oh shit, like I gotta go wash my hands. That's
Right.
my biggest concern. And but in general, I've been going to work and you stay your 6 feet and then you don't touch. I'm general. I think you'll be all right. I mean, unless you're like going to fucking stores and shit like that. I mean, plus I'm taking stuff to build my immunity, but that's me personally. That's my biggest thing is like if someone touches me that I don't know or some accidental hand touch or something. Yeah, that's where I fucking like oh shit like. Me fucking douse my hand in fucking hand sanitizer.
Yeah, it actually happened something weird to me the other day. I was at Menards. It was like one of the first times that I've gone into like a store because I've been doing grocery pickups for most of my stuff, so I haven't really gone to a store. But I had to get that plastic sheet that you put on the bottom of mulch, like in the front of the house when you do put it in the bushes and shit. So I went to Menards and I bought this plastic. But while I was there, I wanted to buy some compressed air for cleaning out my computer because I see some like dust inside of it. So I ran out of the compressed air and I had Googled Menards and they had it at a pretty cheap price because buying it through Amazon, it was like twice as expensive. So when I get there, I asked the lady because I don't know where the hell you store compressed air in Menards. It didn't come to me logically like where to find it. So I went up to somebody and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for compressed air. The lady's like, let's go to the computer and I can look. So I'm standing behind, they got this face shield plexiglass thing. So I'm standing behind that. And I kind of got a couple steps even behind that just to give her some comfort level that I'm not too close. And she's typing shit and she's trying this and trying that. And then finally she goes, I don't see it coming up in the system, but I know we carry it. And then she kind of like tilt her computer over so I could kind of see it. So I kind of come around the corner and I'm looking, but I'm still trying to keep my distance. And I noticed that she typed in air compressor. And I'm like, yeah, well, if you type in air compressor, you're going to get all these tanks. You're not going to get this canned air. So I'm like, no, it's compressed air. If you search for compressed air, it might come up. And then she's like looking at it, and she's kind of like giving me like this look like she's not understanding. And so I'm like, I'm sorry, excuse me. Can I? And then she's looking at me, and she sees me going to go touch her mouse. And so I touch her mouse, and I click on where it says, compressor. Mm-hmm. And I put it in between the O and the R. And then she's just like, I'm sorry, I can do it. What do you want me to type here? And then that's when it kind of triggered even harder in my brain. I'm like, she doesn't want me to touch her shit because she's worried about COVID too. So I'm like, yeah, just delete the OR and put ED. It's compressed air.
She grabbed your junk or something. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Social distance. Oh shit, don't stop.
No, it wasn't that kind of Menards. But yeah, after I did it, it started triggering in my head. I'm just like, man, these are going to be the new times that we're going to live in, where you can't do shit like that no more. You can't touch somebody else's computer, because now I bet you as soon as I walked away, she probably doused her mouse in sanitizing or whatever, and afraid that maybe I contaminated it. And I was afraid too. I was looking for like some kind of sanitation station myself, because I didn't have any hand sanitizer on me. So the whole time I'm just walking with my hand, and I'm like, don't touch anything with this hand. Anything in your pocket, don't touch anything, because I need to get this thing sanitized. So
that's the thing. Is obviously hands are like the most, everything you read. I mean, it could be fake news. I don't know. That shit was changed in the 3 months. This has changed significantly about how you can get it. I mean, I know we're beating a dead horse here, but yeah, the biggest one where is the hand-to-hand contact or whatever, any type of body contact. That's the only time where I get like, to me that raises a red flag, like, oh shit. Like, but in general, like, yeah, I was going out with gloves like 24/7, and I was like, I don't do any of that no more. We got hand sanitizer in my car, in my wife's purse, in the house, and every time I fucking, like, once a week, I might just grab a disinfectant wipe and start wiping down knobs in certain areas, and just for the fuck of it. But
right.
Nah, it wasn't like before. I was just like doing it at least like twice a day, like just fucking at the peak. I was just like, oh shit, and then more and more stuff came out. I was like, okay. I mean, it's important, but it's not, the biggest percentage of you getting is not through that, and so that kind of relieved me. But that big one is always, don't touch your face and wash your hands.
Right. Yeah, I think for the most part, most people are in the same boat. They were probably washing their knobs like 5 times a day, and now it's gotten down to where like, yeah, I'll wash it, like 3 times a week, and that'll be good enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's to each his own, whatever you feel comfortable with. But like when you go to places, some places when they give you a pen and like you have to sign something, like, which is still kind of weird.
Right.
Like when you sign a credit card, they tell you to keep the pen, and some other places you hand the pen back to them. I'm just like, damn, man, like, this is fucking weird, but like, whatever. I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, and then they have hand sanitizer everywhere now. So this is gonna be interesting how down the road it's gonna go, and how long before people stop wearing masks. I mean, there's a big pushback on it now, but I think eventually it's gonna come to when people are like, fuck this, I'm not gonna wear a mask no more.
Right, man. I need you to bring me some of those Ellis pens, man. I'm running low. I only got
I got a shitload of those in the house. I got a shitload of those in the truck. I got a shitload of those in my fucking backpack. Bro, we had boxes of that shit. I went yesterday. I went back there. There's like half a box left.
Yeah, man. I need you to give me like a handful, man.
Ellis, the company has face shields. So if you want to work with them, like where you flip down and shit.
Oh, shit. Nice.
They bought them. They bought K95 mask, and they bought face shields. If you really want them, and when you go back to work, you could wear that, walking around with that whole fucking hunk of mask. I saw somebody at the store with that thing. They're like, fuck these cotton masks. He had a face shield, and I found it so effing strange. That guy just looked like a weirdo to me. I know I'm judging, but it just did not look right.
Yeah, so Andy, I started watching Voyager, and I think it's the show not right after Generations, Next Generations, because I think Deep Space Nine was on right after Generations. So I think it was the show after that, but not really that much after. I think it started like a season or two into Deep Space Nine, if I remember right.
I think it started the season after DS9 ended or Deep Space Nine, because I think when Picard was on, he let there at the both shows were on at the same time, if I remember correctly.
That's what I remember.
And I don't know if it was one or two season. All I know is when Next Generation ended, they brought Worf to DS9.
Right. So maybe Generations and Deep Space Nine were going on. Next Generation
timeline. Yeah, it's like
at
the same timeline.
At the end of Generations, that's when Deep Space Nine started up. So maybe they were running together for some time. And then same thing with Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I believe Deep Space Nine at the very end of their run, Voyager had started, and so they were running in parallel together. But yeah, I started watching Voyager, and it wasn't the first time I tried to watch it. Similar to Deep Space Nine, I've tried to watch both of these shows, and it gotten in like an episode or two, but never really captured me. It never really caught my attention the way Next Generation did, the way Enterprise did, the one with
You're saying Enterprise
Quantum
is
Leap.
superior to show it to Voyager?
You know, I did like Enterprise with the Quantum Leap guy.
Did too. Yeah.
I liked Enterprise. I thought it was a good show. I thought at the end it started getting kind of weak because they started kind of running a little quick. I don't know if they knew that they were going to end the show soon, so they started trying to wrap up some timelines, and I thought it was...
They brought in number 2, man, from Generations, or from Next Generation.
Well, yes, he started kind of directing some episodes. But yeah, I thought Enterprise was a great show, and to be honest, I was kind of flip-flopping back and forth between Enterprise and Deep Space Nine on which one I would watch next, since I finished Voyager. But I think I'm going to give Deep Space Nine another try, just because I've seen Enterprise, and even though I do like that show, I think it's only like 2 or 3 seasons, so it's not that much. So I'm going to try Deep Space Nine next, I believe. But getting back to Voyager, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't a great show. I'm definitely hoping Deep Space Nine is better than it, but it was okay. The good parts about it was that it was different. It was showing a bunch of different class of aliens, stuff that you have never seen in Generations. It also showed the Borg again, so that is something still similar.
Refresh my memory, Dan. What quadrant were they in?
The Delta quadrant.
Quadrant.
Yeah. The all the other Star Treks, they're all in the Alpha quadrant, and Voyager's their spaceship Voyager gets thrown into the Delta quadrant, and that's the whole main thing of the show, is that they're stuck in the Delta quadrant.
Was flying, man. She was a captain.
Right. Yeah. That's what happens when you tell a woman to drive you somewhere.
She didn't use her GPS.
They don't want to ask for directions. Well, I think that's what they say about men. But anyways, they were in the Delta Quadrant, and the whole 7 seasons, I believe it is, the whole thing is them trying to get back to Earth. So every now and then they would come across a wormhole that cuts their trip down to, I think it was 40 years it would take them to get back, and then they would cut it 10 years. Then they would hit some other phenomenon that would cut it back another 5 years. And so slowly by slowly, they were making their way back to Earth until finally, spoiler alerts, the last episode, they finally make it back to Earth. But yeah, through the whole story arc, it was interesting. It was okay. I do got to admit that sometimes some episodes felt really, wash, spin, or wash, rinse, or however you go, dry and go again, whatever the saying is, where it was just like the same formula over and over again.
It's for our younger fans, it's 90s TV. This is at a time where you would have 24 24 to 26 episodes per season, not like the
Right.
10, 13 episodics, what they consider seasons now. So you had filler episodes where you got the overall arc, and then like let's just talk about this character and their dumb crap or whatever. Let's build their character up, and it had nothing to do with their overall story a good chunk of the time.
Right. You're right in that aspect that each episode is somewhat self-contained for the most part, but they did have an overall arch of trying to get back home. So everything was, how is that going to impact us getting back home? Hey, these people are giving us problems. Well, if we do that, it's only going to extend our trip by, another year because now we got to go do this. And so, that was in the background a lot. So it was more like modern TV show where there is an overall arc going on, as well as these little bits and piece stories throughout the episodes. So it was more modern in that fashion, but it was still a lot of that same cookie cutter. You got that same episode over and over again. The Vulcan had Vulcan episodes, the hologram had hologram episodes, and it was just like somewhat the same towards the end.
So let me ask you this, and my love of Deep Space Nine, and they actually talk about people's love life and sex life. Them people all confined to the ship. Was there like love interest stories, or was there fucking going on Voyager, or what?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was a little more mellow because they were playing up a lot about there was 2 ships that actually got sent into the Delta Quadrant, and one ship had to, got badly damaged, so both crews were integrated into one. So a lot of the drama from the first season is both of these crews mixing together and becoming one. So there wasn't really much as far as romantic relationships, but towards the end, that's when it started kind of, you started seeing more of this romantic aspect because people started, having long-term relationships with each others, and, they were together for, 10 years or whatever. So it became more and more relationships. And actually there was a couple babies that were had on the ship.
What?
Yeah. One lady was pregnant right when they got lost in the Delta Quadrant. So she had the baby 9 months into the voyage. And then there was another lady that got pregnant the last season. And, I think it was like the episode or 2 before the finale, she ended up having her baby. So, yeah, it was these long relationships because it was quite a few years together.
Let me ask you this. Federation, Starfleet. I always wondered this. We're not going to get too much off topic, but being that they're in Starfleet, the Federation, and how in Earth, money, they don't think about money. But when they meet other cultures or other planets, some of them, like the Ferengis, are all about getting paid and shit.
Right.
I always wondered, do Starfleet officers get fucking paid? Do they get a salary when they go, when they go to that planet, where the vacation planet, what's it called?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There was an episode on it, but is that all free? You can just roll up in there if you're on the Federation. If you're a Federation citizen, you can just roll up in there, man. I always wondered this, as humans, we evolve. We don't think about money, but obviously other species, other forms of entities, this like Ferengis, are still about making money. So I always wondered how that shit worked. To me, I don't know.
Right. No, and I think you're right. I think as long as these planets are within the Federation, then there's an understanding that there's no, currency. It's all just goodwill. You do this for me, I'll do that for you, kind of thing, for the most part. And even in Voyager, it does happen in that fashion where they're like, we need dilithium chips. And he's just like, well, what do you got to trade for it? And that was the most part is, what will you trade for it? Okay, I got this and I got that. Oh, that's not enough. If you do this, plus give me 10 barrels of that, then I'll trade you this. So it was a lot of that going on, you know, because that was the other big part. Since they don't have spaceports to dock into, they can't get repairs done, you know, in a timely manner. They can't get refueled. So they had to, a lot of the episodes were them scouring for resources, trying to keep their voyage going.
So you're saying Janeway is not a good captain? You think she's better, or she better than Picard?
Oh, she's not better than Picard by no stretch. But she grew on me. Her big thing that I started really picking up on her mannerism. I don't know if it's her as an actress or it's the character, but she kept pointing her finger a lot, and it started getting on my nerves towards the end. I don't know if it's just that pointing fingers in general I don't really care for, but it started becoming like a little thing that she does. She would be talking and she would get into her speech, and then she would take out that 2-gun salute with her both her fingers, and she would just start talking and waving those 2 fingers around. And I was just like, man, I'm not liking this. Why is she doing that, man? Like, why she keep doing that? It's like every time she's doing her little speech, because it's like, well, Captain, if we do this, you know, well, I think if we do that and that, and she started waving those fingers, and I'm just like, oh man, come on, lady, stop waving those fingers, man. Jesus Christ.
You don't like her mannerisms? You're like a Starfleet captain doesn't fucking do the wink in the gun.
Right, exactly. But I guess to cut the conversation about Deep Space or Voyager, it was okay. It was palatable. I got through the whole thing, and I'm glad I did, just because when I watched Picard, the new CBS show, one of those characters show up in there. So I wanted to try to get the backstory, and now after watching Voyager, I did. So I'm happy that I watched it, but moving on to something else next. The other thing that I watched, Andy, I don't know if you watched, I know your sister watched these, American Horror Story, the first season, which is The Murder House. I'm not sure if you watched that one or not.
Nah, my sister, I know it's been on a long time. I don't know if it's still around, but yeah, they watched it religiously. I just remember there was one with the circus, there was one with the house, there was one with like a hotel, and then I would come home from somewhere and they'd be watching them, and I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck this is. And I know it had some success the early seasons, and they brought on special guest stars, and I think one season they had Lady Gaga, but I've never really watched it or got into it. I know each year each season they changed up the storylines with the same actors.
Yeah, I thought that was weird because this is a show that me and Alana watched together. It's kind of like our together episodes that we watch. And we just finished it, The Murder House, season 1, and we started watching season 2, which I believe is called Asylum. And that's what
Asylum. Yeah.
That's what was jarring to me, is that when we started watching episode 1 of Asylum, we started seeing a lot of the characters for Murder House. And at first there was one character, and I'm like, oh, you know, it's funny. Maybe this character is going to get killed off. It's kind of maybe like a wink and a nod, you know, like, hey, to season 1, this guy's not going to be on the whole season. And then another character showed up, and then another character. And now we're like 4 or 5 episodes in, and every episode it seems like another character is introduced from the first season. And I just thought that was kind of weird, you know, because they're not in the same universe, I'm assuming, because you can't, or at least it would be weird to have 2 different characters played by the same person. I think that would be kind of jarring. But yeah, if that goes on for more seasons, it's might grow on me, but I did find it kind of weird when I first started watching.
Yeah, that was the whole premise of that show. They just keep the actors, they play different characters in each season. They change up the storyline, and like people got into it early on, and then that's why I said I don't even know if it's still on, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean that's what they do. I know my sister was like crazy into it for a long time.
Yeah, I know she was a huge fan when these were airing on TV. You know, I watched it on Netflix, I think it was, or Prime.
I think it's Hulu,
I can't remember.
It's an FX show.
Okay.
Hulu owns FX or Disney owns all that shit now.
Yeah, I think actually I watched it on Prime. I don't know if they have it on Prime as well, for some reason, but yeah. So I finished watching
Was
Murder
there
House.
commercials then?
No, there was just an intro commercial, like
yeah, then it sounds like Prime.
Yeah, it was like, these are the things going on in Prime, some new shows, and then it just jumped into the episode. But I gotta admit, man, this is another one where I watched like the first episode, but it didn't really grab me, so I never finished watching it. But me and my wife were looking for a show to watch. We watched it again, episode 1, and then we watched episode 2, and then it got kind of the hooks into us, man. It got really, really weird towards the end of it. It was more and more like another turn, and it was weird. Just when you thought you knew where the story is going, it would change, and it would change a new aspect would be introduced into the story. So it was really weird in that fashion that it changed. You kept taking left turns all throughout the season, and it was not predictable at all. And the only thing that I would say is predictable is probably like the ending. But before then, everything was somewhat of a surprise. And I kind of think of myself as one of those film snuffs where I could kind of tell what's coming up on a story. And I know you're pretty good at that too, Andy. But this was one that kept me on my toes, and I couldn't really figure out most of it.
Yeah, the guy that was on, who created the show, he had some type of deal with them. I forgot. There's a long story. I think he left them to go join Netflix to create new content for them, if I remember correctly. But yeah, he was like the it guy for a while with new shows and stuff. Like, how The Shield and Sons of Anarchy was created by the same guy. They gave him a big deal to create more shows. He did a couple more that didn't really work out, but it was like an exclusive thing to FX or something, like a production deal or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about Murder House, but the Asylum is even more weird. To me, that's even more left turns, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Is this supernatural? Is this extraterrestrial? Is this, just like a superpowered being? I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. The story just keeps changing. But back to Murder House, I thought it was one of the better shows. It was very well put together. It does a lot of the Pulp Fiction where you get sent into the past, and then you get sent into the future, and then you see a flashback of the past. So it does a lot of that time travel during the episode.
Jumps around.
Right. But the good thing that they do to help you out with that is they'll give you like a year stamp. So it'll say, 1886, and then they'll show the scene. And then they'll show one that says 1996, and then they'll show you the scene. So it explains the timeline somewhat, so you can kind of follow along. And then the more and more you watch the show, the more you become accustomed to where if you see this character, okay, they're in 1886, showing you this scene having to do with the doctor in the house doing abortions or whatever it was, So it does explain that somewhat. But yeah, there's a lot of that jump back and forth kind of thing. But yeah, you get kind of used to it towards the end.
Yeah, like I said, it's I didn't like it. I mean, like I said, it was always in the background and when my sisters would be watching it, but I'm not. It wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to contact Hilda and get her thoughts on it, because it is one of those weird shows. One of those shows that it kind of twists your mind around just thinking about all the weirdness that's going on. Definitely something for everybody out there to watch who's into horrors, into mysteries and stuff like that. This is definitely up your alley. But something else that's kind of weird, Andy, and something that's out of the ordinary here is our article of the week. So, Andy, our article of the week this week is something a little weird and off the wall, and I'm sure it's something that maybe we haven't dealt with us in particular men, Andy, but something definitely that's in the back of our mind when we go drinking beer. The article of the week is a man's bladder explodes after holding his pee for 18 hours after beer drinking. So I know this has happened to most men where you don't want to, as they call it, break the seal. You don't want to break that dam and start peeing just because as soon as you do, the theory is that once you break that dam and break that seal, you're going to have to pee more frequently, more often. And where that first holdout of peeing is going to be your longest stretch without having to pee. I myself never believed in that. I would just go pee whenever I had to and then have to pee the next time, and I would just go. But I know some people do believe in that.
Dude, I mean, obviously, I still, after reading the article, I have a lot of questions. So first of all, this is in China. Second of all, yeah, you never break the seal because once you do, it's like it's a leak that you're never going to be able to close back up. Apparently he drowned 10 bottles of beer. So bottles mean that the key word. And also,
to
what
me,
kind
it's
of beer?
not a lot. To me, 10 is, when I read it in 10, I'm like, what? He wasn't even drinking that much, in my opinion.
And then also, I want to know what kind of beer is it. Was it Chinese beer, American, Australian, European? I mean, that's another thing because there are different beers that give you
more of a bloated feeling.
Yeah, more of a bloated feeling, and that makes you want to go to take a piss more. I mean, alcohol being, beer especially, it's carbonated, I feel, or the bloat, feeling bloated.
It's a lot of 10 water.
10 hours, yeah, for 10 beers, and he probably passed out. I've hold my piss where my junk would start shaking, but I've never heard, I never felt, or I'm sorry, I never heard that your bladder could fucking explode because it was filled with water. Or is it because it's beer, or does this happen with water, or if you drink Gatorade or any type of liquids?
Oh, you've never heard of bladders exploding?
I've never really heard of that.
Yeah, it can happen, man. If you hold your piss in long enough, your bladder explodes inside of you, and all that piss goes all over your body. So then they gotta go into you surgically and remove all this liquid because it swishes around all your body internal organs. And so it's not as bad as if your appendix bursts, but it's definitely bad because piss is poisonous to an extent. So all that shit's going inside your body. Yeah, it happens. It wasn't something that like my parents drilled in your head, like go piss, otherwise your bladder's going to explode kind of thing. But it was something that I was conscious to know that if you hold it in for too long, there is a chance that your bladder will explode and you'll have some issues. But yeah, you're right. This guy did drink and then he went to bed, and I guess he didn't have the feeling to wake up and take a piss, because I know that's another sensation I've had before where in the middle of the night you gotta go take a piss. It wakes you up. To me, at least it does.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's when you got to take a piss, you just go. But I think the longest I ever held like a piss was maybe like an hour, dude. Before I was like, I might as well just piss myself, because that my junk was literally shaking because I could not hold it no more. I mean, but I don't know how full my bladder was. I mean, I never had no. If you read the article, it says that he had excruciating pain, like in his abdomen or something.
Right. The
after
pain,
he woke up, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right, because by that point it had bursted. So it bursted. So the pain was from the piss seeping into his organs throughout his inner body. So the pain was that. It was his piss touching all his other organs. So that's where some of the pain came from his abdomen. So then that's when he went for emergency surgery, and luckily he was able to recover, but they did have to surgically repair his bladder and close up, I think it said like 3 or 4 tears. So it was pretty bad. I mean, this guy's thing ruptured, and I don't know, man. He must have been that wasted that even though his body tried to wake him up, maybe he ignored it and stayed asleep, or he was that passed out. I don't know, man. To me, I've had the feeling to urinate, or I'll even dream that I have to urinate, and it'll trigger me to wake up, and then I'll get up and then in the night, and then I'll go use the bathroom.
And the other thing, it wasn't a young guy; it was like a 40-year-old. So it's just very interesting. I mean, I've never. I don't know, man. I find this interesting. I hope it's from China, so who knows? I don't know. I'm reading some of the. I don't know if you had a chance to get any of the comments. Someone wrote here. I'm not a doctor, but it seems like the guy's kidneys would have screamed for redress before his bladder, which is a stretching muscle. That's what I was assuming. Would have ruptured. I'm wondering if there wasn't an incident such as a fight, fall, or auto accident involved. So he seems to think maybe something happened before for your bladder to rupture. Which, because I thought your bladder could expand some. I mean, 10 beers. It's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's also fuck. Like I've drinking fucking case of beer, and I mean, maybe after 12, I would take a piss or something.
Right. Yeah, maybe this guy, the commenters are right. I do know that your bladder expands, and sometimes you do feel that when, normally you piss and it takes you, 30 seconds and you empty out your bladder. And then there's times when you piss and it takes a minute and a half to empty out your bladder. So that's your bladder stretching out to accommodate the extra piss. But I don't know. Maybe this guy needed to use the bathroom before he passed out. And, to be honest, now thinking about it, passed out, I would think he'd probably piss on himself. Because isn't that something?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
isn't that something where people that are drunk, they piss on themselves?
Yeah, because they can't hold it in. So maybe it ruptured when he was drinking. And he was too drunk to feel it.
Or maybe he fell when he got home and fell on his stomach or something, and that's what ruptured his bladder. Because, now that I'm thinking about it more, even if he was passed out asleep, I think your body would just release, and you'd probably shit and piss on yourself before anything would explode.
Yeah, he didn't shit himself. The mystery widens here. And then the other thing is, so if he fell asleep and he didn't piss himself. The other thing is, he says in pain, how hungover was he? And it says that he couldn't relieve himself afterwards. It would hurt, and that's the whole thing. And I don't know, Dan. I mean, I might call bullshit on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it is in Fox News, and we all knew Fox News is a no spin zone. But I don't know. I might have to question this article, Andy.
It isn't CNN.
Right, it's not
MSNBC.
CNN. Right.
Or one of those streaming ones like Newsmax or OAN or whatever. One America First or I forgot whatever the fuck. Having cable, one of the things I miss is I don't have cable, so I have to use the shitty streaming things, and I don't like CBS. I don't like NBC. I don't like ABC on some of them, and so I have to watch some of the Newsmax I watch once in a while, but I'm like, this sucks. And the other one, OAN or something, and they kind of suck too. So I have to rely on YouTube clips to get my news now.
And just watch the local Fox Chicago, man.
Nah, man, I don't like local news. I mean, that's the snob in me. I only like WGN, but I feel like they're entertainment now. I don't know. It doesn't feel like news.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So I have to rely on YouTube clips and people's podcasts. But we're gonna have to wrap this one up, Danny. We want to thank you guys for listening. Remember, you can follow Freeform Network on Facebook and Twitter at Freeform Network. Send your questions and suggestions to ffnquestions@gmail.com. So send me what news you could watch on some streaming platform that doesn't suck. And don't forget to visit our webpage at freeformnetwork.podbean.com. There you see the links to this amazing article about a guy not pissing himself, which is kind of amazing, but he pissed himself internally. So I think that's worse. And there you see our links for Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, YouTube. We're on so many new ones, I can't keep track of it. We're waiting for that big Spotify deal. Subscribe and hit that like button in all those platforms. That helps us out. And you'll help us out immensely if you really, really subscribe. So this is Freeform Radio. We have Danny.
Yes, sir. Always keep the faith and hope for the best.
And I drank 12 beers and it didn't rupture in me, Andy. And again, guys, have a beer on us. And if you piss yourself, make sure you let us know. Maybe we'll bring you on this show. And we'll catch you out. We'll catch you guys next time.
That was cool, Dad.